Hello there. Let's get comfortable, shall we? Find that perfect, welcoming spot on your pillow. The one that seems made just for you. Allow your shoulders to release their hold, to sink softly into the mattress beneath them. Take a slow, deep breath, feeling the air fill your lungs. And as you exhale, let go of the day. Just let it drift away. Tonight, we are embarking on a journey, a quiet, sprawling thought experiment. This isn't a story about pressure or deadlines or ambition. It is a story about curiosity, about process, about the sheer joy of creation. We're going to explore a question that glimmers in the back of so many minds. A question that feels like a modern-day fairy tale. How do you make $10 million? But please, don't mistake this for a frantic chase. This is a slow, meandering walk. It is a story about you. And it begins not with a stock ticker or a business plan, but with something far more fundamental. Something small, something warm, something real. It begins with the pursuit of a perfect cup of coffee. Imagine, if you will, that you possess a certain kind of magic. It is not a flashy, dramatic magic, but a quiet, patient one. It is the magic of touch, of taste, of intuition. It's a deep, innate understanding of the coffee bean. You don't just see a small, brown, roasted object. You see a story. You can almost feel the high-altitude sun that warmed it, the volcanic soil that nourished it, the careful hands that picked it. You understand its potential. You know that the right grind, a matter of microns, can be the difference between brilliance and bitterness. You understand that water, the lifeblood of coffee, must be at a precise temperature, a Goldilocks zone of not too hot, not too cool. You understand that the pressure of the water passing through the grounds, the timing of the extraction, measured in seconds, is a delicate dance. For you, this is a form of alchemy, a sacred ritual of turning the earth's offering into a moment of pure, unadulterated comfort and delight. Your friends, for years, have tasted your creations with a sense of wonder. You have to do something with this, they've always said. You should open a shop. And for years, you've simply smiled, content in your quiet passion. But tonight, in this safe, comfortable space, let's allow that smile to blossom into a decision. Let's pretend you did it. Let's build it together, right here in the workshop of our minds. Brick by imaginary brick. The very first step, you see, has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with a feeling, a vision. You find yourself walking, in your mind's eye down a street you've never seen but somehow know. It's a street with character. The buildings are old, made of deep red brick, their facades telling stories of 100 winters past. Sycamore trees line the pavement, their leaves forming a dappled canopy overhead. And there, on a corner, you see it. A small, forgotten storefront. It is not sad or derelict, just waiting. The large picture windows are a bit grimy. The forest green paint on the door frame is peeling, just so, but it possesses an undeniable soul. It has good bones. You can already see past the dusty exterior. You can picture it, clear as day, a long, welcoming counter made of warm, glowing wood, a collection of mismatched but incredibly comfortable armchairs. The soft, golden light of Edison bulbs hanging from the high ceiling. This is the place. A silent hum of certainty resonates within you. You sign a lease, not with a checkbook, but with the currency of pure intention. The old, ornate brass keys feel heavy and real in the palm of your hand. They are the keys to a new chapter. Now begins the part that is not work, but a labor of love. You spend weeks, perhaps a full season, in this space, making it your own. You don't rush. The first thing you do is clean. You wash the windows until they sparkle, letting the natural light flood in, chasing out the last of the shadows. You sweep away the dust of years, a meditative act of clearing the old to make way for the new. You decide to paint the walls yourself. You choose a color that feels like a hug, a deep and calming shade of twilight blue, a color that encourages quiet conversation and peaceful thought. For the main counter, you find a story. You learn of an old barn, 100 years old, being dismantled a few hours away. You drive there and find a massive single piece of reclaimed oak, its surface etched with the history of seasons and labor. You haul this heavy treasure back to your shop and spend days, maybe weeks, sanding it. The rhythmic motion of the sandpaper, back and forth, becomes a form of meditation. You sand it down through the grits, from rough to impossibly fine, until the wood grain emerges like a topographical map of time, and the surface is as smooth as still water. This counter will be the heart of your shop, the stage upon which your daily alchemy will be performed. Next, the machine, your espresso machine. It is the single largest investment, a beautiful, gleaming beast of chrome and brass. It's not just a tool, it is your partner. You learn its personality, its gentle hums, its powerful hisses. You spend days dialing it in, a process of tuning a fine instrument. You adjust the grinder, pull a shot of espresso. You watch the way the coffee streams from the portafilter. At first, like dark honey, then lightning in color. The mouse tail, they call it. You taste the shot. Is it too acidic? Too bitter? You adjust the grind, a fraction of a millimeter finer. You adjust the dose, a tenth of a gram more. You pull another and another. You are not just looking for a good shot. You are searching for the perfect expression of the bean, a harmonious balance of sweetness, acidity, and body. Then, one afternoon, it happens. You pull a shot, and the aroma that fills the air is breathtaking. Notes of dark chocolate, toasted almond, a whisper of dried cherry. You take a sip. It coats your tongue with a velvety texture, a wave of complex, beautiful flavor. It is perfect. That taste, that aroma, is the smell of your future. It is the promise of everything to come. You need a name. It comes to you not in a flash of brilliance, but in a moment of quiet reflection. Something that speaks to the experience you want to create. Still Point Coffee, a reference to a quiet center in a spinning world, a place to pause, to breathe, to simply be. You hire a local artist, an elderly woman with incredibly steady hands, to paint the name on the front window. She uses real gold leaf, and as she carefully applies each delicate sheet, it catches the sunlight, a beacon of simple elegance. Your first major expense isn't the machine or the rent, but the coffee itself. You decide from the very beginning that you will be uncompromising in your sourcing. You spend weeks researching not distributors, but farms. You find a small family-owned cooperative in a high-altitude region of Colombia. You speak with the farmer, Maria, over a crackly video call. She shows you her coffee plants, the bright red cherries hanging heavy on the branches. She tells you about her family, about the generations that have tended this land. You're not just buying a product. You're entering into a relationship. You are becoming a link in a chain of passion that starts with a seed in the soil and ends with a warm cup in a customer's hand. The first shipment of green, unroasted coffee beans arrives in large, rough burlap sacks. They don't smell like coffee yet. They have a fresh, grassy, slightly fruity aroma, the smell of pure potential. You've invested in a small, beautiful drum roaster and placed it in the corner of the shop where customers will be able to see it, to feel its warmth. You spend another week learning its rhythms, its secrets. Roasting is where the bean's hidden poetry is unlocked. You listen for the first crack, a sound like popcorn popping, signaling the sugars are beginning to caramelize. You watch the color of the beans change from pale green to yellow to cinnamon to the rich, deep brown you desire. You learn that a difference of 15 seconds can be the difference between a bright, vibrant coffee and a flat, roasty one. The sound of the beans tumbling in the roaster, the cracking, the whirring of the cooling tray. A sound of transformation. Finally, the day arrives. Opening day. You are a bundle of nerves and excitement. You unlock the freshly painted door before the sun is fully up. You arrange a small selection of pastries, croissants and scones that you've sourced from the old family-run bakery down the street. Another partnership built on mutual respect for craft. You brew a large urn of drip coffee, and it's comforting. Familiar scent is your invitation to the waking world, a fragrant beacon sent out into the cool morning air. And then you wait for a few long, quiet minutes. Nothing happens. You start to worry. What if this was all a mistake? And then the little bell above the door chimes. Your first customer, a woman in a nurse's uniform, her face etched with the fatigue of a long night shift. She offers a tired smile. I saw the light on, she says. Just a black coffee, please. Your hands are surprisingly steady as you pour the coffee into a warm ceramic mug. You hand it to her. She wraps her cold hands around it, letting the warmth seep in. She takes a sip, her eyes close for a long moment. A visible wave of relief and comfort washes over her face. A genuine, unforced smile appears. Oh, she says, her voice soft. That is a really good cup of coffee. You charge her $3. And in that transaction, you haven't just made a sale. You've made a connection. You've provided a moment of respite, a small act of kindness in a cup. It is a tiny fraction of $10 million. Utterly insignificant on a spreadsheet. But in that moment, it feels like the most valuable $3 in the world. It's real. It is meaningful. You have created a small moment of grace for a stranger. You've built something that matters. Throughout that first day, a slow but steady trickle of people find their way inside. Drawn in by the aroma, the warm light, or simple curiosity. A university student with a stack of books finds a comfortable armchair in the corner and stays for hours, nursing a single latte. A pair of old friends, laughing, catch up over cappuccinos at a small table by the window. A construction worker, covered in a fine layer of dust, comes in for a quick, powerful shot of espresso, drinks it standing at the counter, thanks you, and leaves. You talk to them not as a salesman, but as a host. You learn their names. You ask about their day. You are not just serving them coffee. You are welcoming them into your space. You are weaving the first threads of a community. By the end of the day, as you count the modest earnings in your simple cash box, you are bone tired. But it is a good tiredness, a deeply satisfying ache that comes from a day of purposeful creation. You lock the door and sit in the dim light of your empty shop. You make one last cappuccino for yourself. The microfoam is like silk, the espresso rich and sweet beneath it. You sip it slowly, looking out the big window at the people walking by. You haven't made a fortune. You haven't changed the world. But you have built a world inside these four walls. A haven. A still point. And you understand with a deep and quiet certainty that this is where the journey to $10 million or any other number truly begins. Not with a number, but with a value. With a perfect cup of coffee served with care in a place that feels like home. Just let that feeling of deep, quiet satisfaction settle over you. The smell of the roasted beans, the warmth of the mug in your hands, the soft echo of the day's gentle conversations. This is the foundation, and it is solid. It is real, and it is good. And as you rest in that feeling, you can feel yourself drifting, just a little, on a current of peace. The first year of Still Point Coffee unfolds like a slow, beautiful song with a steady, comforting rhythm. Your life aligns with the rising and setting of the sun, with the needs of the shop. You wake in the pre-dawn stillness, the city still asleep, the air cool and clean. The quiet drive to the shop is a time of meditation. You arrive to the dark, silent space, and the first click of the light switch feels like a daily creation story. Then, the satisfying thunk of the portafilter locking into place. The low, powerful hum of the espresso machine waking up. This is the sound of your world coming to life. The aroma of that first grind of the day is your incense, a fragrant offering to the new morning. Soon, the faces of your customers become as familiar as the grain on your wooden counter. You learn their stories in small, shared increments. There's Eleanor, the retired librarian who comes every morning at 9 for a decaf latte and the crossword puzzle. There's Ben, the freelance graphic designer who uses your shop as his office, fueled by a steady stream of Americanos. You know about his kids, his stressful projects, his triumphs. You become a small, stable anchor in the swirling currents of their lives. And they, in turn, become the lifeblood of yours. You begin to understand the language of your business, not as cold accounting, but as a living. You start a simple ledger in a thick cloth-bound notebook. On one page, you list all the money coming in. Every $3 coffee, every $4 croissant. This is your revenue. On the opposite page, you list everything that flows out. The cost of a 25-kilogram sack of green coffee beans from Maria's farm in Colombia. The weekly invoice from the local dairy for organic milk. The electricity bill that hums in the walls. The water that flows through your machine. The rent for this beautiful brick-and-mortar shell, and your own modest salary. These are your costs, your expenses. At the end of the first month, you subtract the second page from the first. The number that remains is your profit. At first, it is a small, almost fragile number. Just enough to pay the bills and reinvest in better equipment, perhaps a new, more precise grinder. But you are not just making coffee. You are learning the fundamental grammar of commerce. You're learning that a business at its heart is a simple promise. You provide something of value, and people provide value back to you. The profit is just a measure of how well you are keeping that promise. You are a careful observer of patterns, a student of human nature. You notice that on rainy days, people linger longer and are more likely to order a second drink and a pastry. On bright, sunny mornings, the turnover is faster, with more people grabbing a coffee to go. You notice that if you place a small, tempting plate of almond biscotti right by the cash register, you sell twice as many. This isn't cynical manipulation. It's a gentle art of suggestion, of anticipating what might bring a small, extra moment of pleasure. It is empathy applied. Based on these observations, you make small, intuitive adjustments. You create a simple loyalty card. Not a plastic one, but a beautifully designed cardstock that you stamp with a custom-made ink stamp. Buy 9 coffees. The 10th is a gift. It doesn't just encourage repeat business. It makes your regulars feel seen and appreciated. It's a tangible symbol of your mutual relationship. You collaborate more deeply with the bakery down the street. Together, you develop a signature still point morning bun, a warm cinnamon laced creation designed specifically to pair with your house blend coffee. It becomes a local sensation. They sell more buns. You sell more coffee to go with them. It is a simple, beautiful synergy, a small ecosystem of quality and collaboration thriving on a quiet city street. The seasons turn. The nervous energy of the first few months has mellowed into a deep, comfortable competence. The profit, that number at the bottom of your ledger, is starting to grow. It's becoming more robust. It is no longer just a few $100s. It's a few $1,000s a month. This is real money, earned one thoughtful interaction at a time. After a full year of tireless, joyful work, you look at your business bank account. You have managed to save $30,000. You look at that number on the screen, 30,000. It feels solid. It feels heavy, with meaning. It represents 10,000 cups of coffee, 10,000 moments of connection, 10,000 quiet affirmations that you are on the right path. But our journey, our thought experiment, is to 10 million. That larger number hangs in the air, a distant, shimmering mountain. You look around your beautiful, bustling shop. You realize its physical limitations. There are only so many seats. There are only so many hours in a day. You can only pull one espresso shot at a time. The bottleneck, you realize with a jolt, is you, your skill, your passion, your presence is the magic ingredient. But to grow, to even begin to climb that distant mountain, you must learn to do the hardest thing for any artisan. You must learn to let go. You must learn to translate your personal magic into a system that can be taught, a process that can be replicated. This is the first great intellectual leap, a step away from the comforting, tangible world of tamping coffee and steaming milk, and into the more abstract realm of systems and training. You decide to hire your first full-time employee. You spend weeks on the search. You're not looking for a barista. You're looking for a kindred spirit. You find one in a young art student named Maya. She has a quiet focus, a natural grace, and a genuine curiosity about the craft. You begin to train her, and you realize you are not just teaching a set of tasks, you are transmitting a philosophy. You don't just show her how to use the espresso machine. You teach her to listen to it. You teach her to taste, really taste, every single shot of espresso she pulls, to understand the nuances of acidity and sweetness. You teach her to watch the customers, to learn their names, to anticipate their needs. You teach her the story of Maria's farm, so she understands the journey of the beans she holds in her hands. The first day you leave Maya in charge of the shop for a full afternoon is an exercise in trust that feels like walking a tightrope. You don't go far. You sit in a park down the street, pretending to read a book, your mind entirely back in the shop. You imagine every possible disaster. But when you return, the shop is humming along beautifully. Maya is at the counter, moving with a focused calm, talking easily with a customer. Another regular is sitting in their usual chair, smiling, content. You feel a new and profound kind of pride swell in your chest. This is a different pride than making a perfect latte. This is the pride of a teacher, of a mentor. You haven't just created a good cup of coffee. You've empowered someone else to create a good cup of coffee. You have successfully cloned a small piece of the shop's soul. With Maya as your trusted partner, you feel a new sense of freedom, a new expanse of mental space. You start to dream a little bigger. What if the warmth and comfort of Still Point Coffee wasn't confined to this one street corner? This thought, once a fleeting fantasy, now feels like a tangible possibility. Your first shop is running so smoothly that it almost doesn't need you for the day-to-day operations. You've become an editor, a conductor, rather than the lead violinist. This frees you up to think, to plan, to explore. So you begin the search for a second location. The process is entirely different. This time, for the first shop, you were led by soul, by a gut feeling. Now, you are led by a combination of soul and data. You spend your afternoons walking through different neighborhoods of the city. You bring a small notebook. You sit on park benches, sipping coffee from a thermos, and you watch. You count pedestrians. You observe the demographics. Are they students, young families, office workers? You map out potential competitors, noting their strengths and weaknesses. You are becoming a student of your city's rhythms, its hidden currents of commerce and community. You find a promising spot in a neighborhood on the other side of town. It's an area that is up and coming, with new apartment buildings and a growing population of young professionals. It lacks a true community hub, a third place between work and home. The storefront is modern, lacking the old brick charm of your first location. But it is a clean slate, a blank canvas. The numbers make sense. The rent is reasonable. The potential customer base is large. But a question nags at you. Can you replicate the soul? Can you instill the same feeling of warmth and welcome in a place with different architecture, a different history, a different energy? This becomes your central challenge. You use the $30,000 you've saved as a down payment for a small business loan. The process is a blizzard of paperwork and meetings with a bank loan officer. A man who sees the world in spreadsheets and risk assessments. You learn to speak his language. You create a detailed business plan with financial projections and operational strategies. You articulate your vision, not just with passion, but with logic. The loan is approved. The artisan is learning to be a business person. The build-out of the second shop is a deliberate exercise in brand consistency. You use the same twilight blue on the walls, the same style of soft lighting, you commission another counter from the same reclaimed wood supplier, but you also make improvements. You noticed in the first shop that the workflow behind the counter could be more efficient. So, in this new layout, you design the placement of the grinder, the espresso machine, and the milk steaming station to minimize steps, to create a more ergonomic dance for the baristas. You are refining your system. The biggest challenge is quality control, specifically with the coffee. Roasting in the first shop was a beautiful sensory experience, but it's not scalable. To ensure every cup of coffee at both locations tastes exactly the same, you make a significant decision. You lease a small warehouse space in an industrial part of town and create a central roastery. You buy a much larger, commercial-grade coffee roaster. This is a huge leap. You are now entering the world of production and logistics. You spend a month perfecting your roasting profiles on the new machine, ensuring that a 20-kilogram batch has the same nuance and sweetness as the 2-kilogram batches you started with. You hire someone specifically to run the roastery, and you train them with the same meticulous care you trained Maya. You promote Maya to be the manager of the original still point, and you hire and train an entirely new team for the second location. This time, you're not just training them on skills, you are teaching them a culture. You create what you call the playbook. It is a beautifully designed binder, but it is more than a manual. It contains the recipes, the operational procedures, yes, but it also contains the why. It tells the story of Maria's farm. It explains your philosophy of hospitality. It outlines the values of the company you are trying to build. Quality, community, respect. The playbook is your attempt to codify the soul of your business. It is the first truly scalable version of your original vision. The day the second shop opens, you are filled with a new kind of anxiety. You are not behind the counter. You are not even in the building. You are sitting in your car down the street, watching people go in and out. But then Maya, who has come over on her day off to support the new team, sends you a text. It is a picture of the new manager handing a cup of coffee to a customer. Both of them are smiling. The caption reads, "It is working." And in that moment, you understand what it means to scale. It's not about dilution. It's about replication. You now have two hearts beating in the city, both pumping out the same warmth, the same quality, the same sense of welcome. Your profit has more than doubled, but more importantly, your impact has doubled. The path to $10 million no longer seems like a mountain to be climbed, but a map to be drawn. A fascinating, complex and deeply rewarding map that you are creating, step by methodical step. And as you contemplate the next part of this map, feel yourself relaxing into the gentle hum of this growing system, a system built not just on numbers, but on a genuine, heartfelt idea. With 2 shops operating like beautifully synchronized clocks, your role undergoes another profound transformation. You are no longer an artisan, or even just a manager of people. You are now the manager of a system. Your days are no longer defined by the morning rush or the afternoon lull, but by a new set of rhythms. You spend your mornings at the central roastery, cupping new coffee samples from around the world. Cupping is the formal process of coffee tasting, a sensory evaluation of aroma and flavor. You stand at a round table with your roaster, slurping coffee from special spoons, analyzing notes of citrus, or chocolate, or jasmine. You are making decisions that will affect thousands of cups of coffee. A week, you are learning about global supply chains. A drought in Ethiopia, a political protest in Peru, a change in shipping container prices in Brazil. These distant, abstract events now have a direct impact on your small business. To mitigate this risk, you begin to build a portfolio of coffee suppliers. You can no longer rely solely on Maria's farm. You establish relationships with other ethical growers in Guatemala, in Kenya. You are creating a resilient, diversified supply chain. It is a complex global puzzle, and you find a deep satisfaction in solving it. Your afternoons are spent on the business of the business. You move into a tiny, rented office space above a bookstore. It is just a desk, a chair, and a whiteboard. But this is your new cockpit. You're learning to read financial statements, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement. At first, they are just a confusing jumble of numbers. But slowly, with the help of books and online tutorials, they begin to tell a story. You see the health of your company reflected in these columns and rows. You learn about concepts like COGS, cost of goods sold, which is the direct cost of your coffee beans and milk. You learn about operating expenses, like rent and payroll. You learn about profit margins and how small efficiencies, multiplied across 2 stores, can have a significant impact on your bottom line. You discover the principle of economies of scale. Now that you're buying milk for 2 busy cafes, the dairy gives you a better price per gallon. Your paper cup supplier does the same. As you grow, your cost per unit of serving a customer actually decreases. This is a powerful force. It means your business doesn't just grow linearly, it grows exponentially. Your 2 shops are not just twice as profitable as one. They are more like 2.5 times as profitable. The system isn't just adding, It is multiplying. The success of the second shop gives you a new confidence. The playbook worked. The system is sound. The desire to grow is no longer just about financial ambition. It is about seeing how far this idea can go. You decide to expand more aggressively within your city. Over the next 2 years, you open 3 more shops, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. Each opening is smoother than the last. You have a dedicated team now, a small group led by your most trusted early employees, whose sole job is to find locations, manage the build-out, and train the new staff using the playbook as their Bible. You are cloning your cloning process. With 5 shops, you are now a significant local player. People in your city know the name Still Point Coffee. It has a reputation, a brand. This brand is a new and incredibly valuable, albeit intangible, asset. It exists in the collective consciousness of your customers. It's a promise of quality, comfort, and a moment of peace. But with this growth comes a new set of challenges. Managing 5 locations and a central roastery is a complex, logistical dance. You can't keep all the information in your head or in a simple notebook anymore. You invest in software for payroll, for inventory management, for accounting. You are building the technological backbone of a real company. You also realize you can't be the sole decision maker. For everything, you need to build a leadership team. You hire an operations manager, a woman with years of experience managing restaurant chains, to professionalize your processes. You hire a part-time financial controller to manage your books. You are learning to delegate, to trust the expertise of others. Your job is evolving again. You are transitioning from being a manager to being a leader. Your primary role is no longer to run the business, but to set the vision, to guard the culture, and to build the team that will carry that vision forward. Your coffee chain is now a thriving organism with 50 employees. It generates over $3 million a year in revenue. And after all expenses, you're left with a healthy 6-figure profit. You have built a successful, stable, and beloved local company. You could stop here. You could live a very comfortable life, running your small, local empire. It is a wonderful achievement. But the journey we are on, this grand thought experiment, is to 10 million. To reach that number, to make the leap from a local hero to a national brand, you will need something you don't have: massive amounts of capital. The profits from your 5 stores are good, but they are not enough to fund the opening of 50 stores or 500. This realization brings you to a new, monumental crossroads. It is the moment you must decide whether to keep your creations small and wholly yours, or to invite in outside partners and see how big it can truly become. The world of high finance, a world of venture capital and private equity, is no longer a distant, abstract concept. It is now a very real and very necessary next step. As you stand at this precipice, looking out at the vast, unknown territory of corporate finance, feel a sense of calm resolve. The journey has prepared you for this. Every lesson learned, from dialing in an espresso shot to reading a balance sheet, has been a step on this path. The gentle hum of the roaster is about to be joined by the powerful, global hum of capital markets. And you can just relax into that sound, letting it carry you into the next, deeper, more abstract phase of our story. The decision is made to take Still Point Coffee from a beloved local chain to a national presence. You need fuel. Not just the profit you generate, but rocket fuel. This fuel, in the business world, is called capital. And you've decided to seek it from a specific source. Venture capital. Let's pause and understand what this really means. Venture capital, or VC firms, are pools of money, often in the hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars, raised from wealthy individuals, pension funds, and university endowments. The sole purpose of this money is to invest in young, high-growth, potential companies. They are not looking for stable, profitable businesses. They are looking for companies that can, with the right injection of cash and expertise, grow tenfold or even 100-fold in the span of 5 to 7 years. They are professional risk takers, and they are betting on you. The first step in this new world is to create something called a pitch deck. This is a short, visual presentation, maybe 15 to 20 slides, that tells the story of your company. You spend a month working on it, not at the coffee shop, but in your small office, late into the night. It is a new kind of creative process. The first slide is your vision: to create a moment of stillness in a busy world, one cup at a time. You then tell your story, starting with a single shop, the focus on quality, the direct relationships with farmers. You present your team, highlighting Maya and your experienced operations manager. Then come the numbers. You show your revenue growth over the past 3 years. A beautiful, upward-sloping curve. You show the profitability of each store. You detail your unit economics, a fancy term for how much it costs to open one new shop and how quickly that shop becomes profitable. You show the market size for specialty coffee, a massive, multi-billion-dollar industry. And finally, the most important slide, the ask. You are asking for $10 million. In exchange, you are willing to sell a piece of your company. How big a piece? That is a matter for negotiation. The final slide shows your ambitious 5-year plan to use the $10 million to expand from 5 stores to 150 stores across the country. It is a bold, audacious plan, and seeing it on paper makes your heart beat a little faster. Now, you have to get this pitch deck in front of the right people. VCs are notoriously hard to reach. You can't just email them. The best way is through a warm introduction. You spend weeks networking, talking to your lawyer, your accountant, anyone you know who might have a connection to the world of finance. Finally, you get a lead. Your accountant knows a partner at a mid-sized VC firm in a major city. An email is sent. The partner is intrigued by your story. A meeting is scheduled. You buy a new suit. You feel like the artisan who has to learn to speak the language of kings. You fly to the city and walk into their offices. They are nothing like your warm, cozy coffee shops. They are all glass, steel, and minimalist art. High up in a skyscraper, with a view that seems to stretch on forever, you are ushered into a conference room. Seated around a long, polished table are 4 people, 2 young analysts who look like they just graduated, and 2 older partners with calm, unreadable expressions. They have your entire life's work from the past few years, summarized in a 20-page presentation in front of them. The presentation begins. You're nervous for the first 2 minutes, but then you start talking about the coffee, about Maria, about your first customer, the nurse. Your passion takes over. You are not just reciting a script. You are telling your story. They listen intently, without interruption. Then come the questions. They are sharp, precise, and relentless. What is your customer acquisition cost? How do you plan to maintain your company culture during rapid expansion? Your unit economics are strong, but can they hold up in more competitive, higher rent markets like New York or San Francisco? What are the key risks to your supply chain? For 2 hours, they probe every single aspect of your business, every assumption in your plan. It is the most intense intellectual examination you have ever undergone. You answer honestly, thoughtfully, admitting what you don't know, but showing your deep understanding of what you do know. You leave the meeting feeling exhausted, but exhilarated. A week goes by. The silence is deafening. You start to doubt yourself. Maybe your dream was too small for their world. Then you get an email. The firm is interested. They want to move to the next stage. Due diligence. This is a deep, intensive investigation into your company. For the next month, their team of analysts descends upon your business. They pore over your financial records, every single invoice and receipt. They visit all 5 of your shops, unannounced, acting as secret shoppers. They call your suppliers. They even check your personal background. They are trying to verify that everything you said in your pitch is true. It is an invasive, stressful process. But you have nothing to hide. Your business is built on a foundation of quality and integrity. And it shows. Finally, the call comes. It is from the senior partner. "We've completed our diligence," he says, his voice calm. "We're very impressed with what you've built. We'd like to make an offer." A wave of relief washes over you. The next day, you receive a document called a term sheet. It is the formal offer to invest. It is a dense, legalistic document, but it contains a few key numbers. They are offering to invest the $10 million you asked for. In exchange, they want 25% of your company. This is the first time a hard, external value has been placed on your business. If 25% is worth 10 million, that means they are valuing your entire company. Pre-investment at $30 million. And after their investment, the post-money valuation will be $40 million. Your 75% stake will be worth $30 million on paper. It is a staggering, almost unbelievable number. The term sheet also specifies that they will get 2 seats on your company's board of directors. This means you are no longer the sole captain of the ship. You will have partners, experienced guides, who will help you navigate the treacherous waters of hypergrowth. You spend a week reviewing the term sheet with your lawyer. You negotiate a few minor points. Then you sign. The deal is done. The $10 million is wired to your company's bank account. Looking at that number, with all its zeros, is a surreal moment. It is more money than you've ever seen. It is not your money. Of course, it belongs to the company. It is the rocket fuel. And now, the countdown begins. The era of the artisan is officially over. The era of the CEO has begun. And as you feel the immense weight and thrill of this new reality, allow your mind to drift on the sheer scale of it all. Let the complexity of the process, the meetings, the numbers, the diligence, become a soothing, intricate pattern, lulling you into a deeper state of rest. The $10 million sits in your company's bank account, a silent, powerful promise of what is to come. This is the beginning of hypergrowth, a phase that is as exhilarating as it is terrifying. The first thing you do is not to open a new store, but to build a team. You can't steer a rocket ship by yourself. Guided by your new board members from the VC firm, you begin a search for a C-suite, the senior executives who will be your lieutenants. You hire a chief financial officer, CFO, a seasoned professional who understands the intricate financial modeling required to manage a fast-growing national company. He builds a detailed budget that maps out how every single dollar of the 10 million will be spent. You hire a chief operating officer, a logistics genius who has experience scaling retail businesses from a few locations to hundreds. Her job is to turn your playbook into a finely tuned, ruthlessly efficient machine of expansion. You hire a chief marketing officer, CMO, a brand storyteller who knows how to take a beloved local brand and introduce it to a national audience without losing its soul. Your small, intimate team of passionate coffee lovers is now the nucleus of a professional corporate structure. The meetings change. They are no longer informal chats over a cappuccino. They are structured, data-driven discussions in a proper boardroom, with spreadsheets projected on a large screen. With the team in place, the expansion begins at a breathtaking pace. The Coos team, armed with sophisticated demographic and real estate software, identifies the top 50 markets in the country. They create a prioritized list. A dedicated real estate team flies across the country, scouting locations, negotiating dozens of leases simultaneously. A construction and design team works in parallel, managing the build-out of 20 stores at once. It is a logistical ballet of incredible complexity. Meanwhile, you and your CMO work on the brand. How do you launch in a new city where nobody knows? Still Point Coffee. You develop a strategy that combines modern digital advertising with old-fashioned community building. Weeks before a new store opens, a local marketing team is on the ground, hosting free coffee pop-ups, partnering with local artists and charities, and telling your story to the community, one person at a time. The goal is that by the time a new shop opens its doors, it already feels like a part of the neighborhood. The biggest challenge is scaling your supply chain. Your central roastery, which seemed so large a year ago, is now woefully inadequate. You invest a significant portion of the capital into building a massive, state-of-the-art roasting and distribution center. This facility is a marvel of technology and craft. Green coffee beans arrive by the container load from your partner farms around the world. Huge, computer-controlled roasters can handle hundreds of pounds of coffee at a time, yet are precise enough to replicate your exact roasting profiles, down to the second. A complex conveyor system bags and boxes the coffee, which is then shipped out daily to your growing network of stores. You have gone from being a craftsman, roasting a few pounds of coffee by sight and sound, to overseeing a major food production facility. You worry constantly about losing the quality, the magic. You institute a rigorous quality control program. Every single batch of coffee roasted is cupped and scored. Your store managers send back samples from their stores every week to be tested. You are fighting a constant battle against the entropy of scale, the tendency for quality to degrade as a system grows. In 18 months, you go from 5 stores in one city to 100 stores in 30 cities. The company is almost unrecognizable. The annual revenue is no longer 3 million, but 80 million. You are no longer profitable. You are intentionally losing money, burning through the venture capital to grow as fast as possible. This is the VC model, growth at all costs, with the goal of achieving a massive scale that will one day become incredibly profitable. It is a high-stakes gamble. Your life is a blur of flights, meetings, and conference calls. You are no longer the calm center of the still point. You are the frantic center of a whirlwind. You struggle to maintain the company's soul. You start a company-wide newsletter telling the stories of your employees and your coffee farmers. You fly all your store managers to a central conference once a year to reinforce the culture. You try to remember the names of the baristas in the new stores you visit, but it is impossible. You have created something that is now far bigger than you. Your board meetings are now focused on one thing: the path to an exit. The VC firm invested $10 million, but they don't want to just get their money back. They need to return a massive profit to their own investors. They need a way to turn their illiquid, on-paper ownership of your company into cold, hard cash. There are 2 primary ways to do this. The first is to be acquired by a larger company. A giant food conglomerate or a rival coffee chain might see your brand and rapid growth as a valuable asset and offer to buy your company for a huge sum, say $500 million. The other path, the one your board strongly favors, is an initial public offering, or IPO. This means taking the company public, listing it on a stock exchange, like the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. This would allow your early investors and you to sell shares to the general public. It is the ultimate validation for a startup. The moment it graduates to the big leagues, the decision is made. You will begin the process of going public. Preparing for an IPO is like preparing a rocket for a moon launch. It is a grueling, expensive, and incredibly detailed process that can take a year or more. The first step is to bake off, a process where you invite several of the world's most prestigious investment banks, names you've only ever read about in the news, to compete for the right to manage your IPO. They fly in teams of bankers who present lavish presentations on why they are the best choice to take your company public. You choose 2 lead banks. Their job is to guide you through the process, help you craft your story for public investors, and ultimately, to sell your stock. The next step is the S-negative N-1 filing. This is a massive legal document that must be filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. SEC, the government body that regulates the stock market. The S-1 is a complete and total disclosure of everything about your company. Your history, your strategy, your financial results for the past 3 years, all the potential risks to your business, everything is laid bare for the world to see. A team of dozens of lawyers and accountants camps out at your headquarters for months, grilling you and your executive team, writing and rewriting every single sentence of the hundreds of pages of the document. This process of deep introspection, of seeing every strength and weakness of your creation laid out in stark, legal language, is both humbling and terrifying. As you wade through this sea of legal documents and financial tables, the simple, sensory act of making a cup of coffee feels like a memory from another lifetime. The journey has taken you so far into the abstract, into a world of pure information and high-stakes finance. And in the quiet hum of this immense corporate machine you've built, you can feel your mind letting go of the small details, surrendering to the vast, complex, and deeply hypnotic process of it all. The journey to an initial public offering is less like a sprint and more like a grueling, year-long marathon through a dense forest of regulations and finance. With your investment bankers and lawyers chosen, the real work on the S-1 registration statement begins. This document is the bedrock of your IPO. Imagine taking everything about your company, its history, its dreams, its secret fears, its financial soul, and translating it into a language of pure, unvarnished fact. A language that must be perfectly accurate, down to the last decimal point. For months, your life is a series of drafting sessions. You are locked in a conference room with your CFO, your lawyers, and the bankers. For 12 hours a day, you go through the document, line by line. They ask you questions about every aspect of the business. On this page, you describe your coffee as ethically sourced. Can you legally prove that for every single bean? What is your documentation process? You state that your brand is a key asset. How do you measure brand value? What if a celebrity has a bad experience at one of your shops and tweets about it? That is a risk. We need to disclose it. Every optimistic statement you want to make is tempered by a dozen legally required warnings about potential risks. The final document is a strange hybrid, part marketing brochure, part doomsday prophecy. It is a perfect reflection of the tension at the heart of the stock market. The balance between hope and fear, while the lawyers work on the S-1. The bankers work on the financial model. They build an incredibly complex spreadsheet that attempts to predict your company's revenue and profits for the next 5 years. This model is the basis for your company's valuation. the price at which your shares will be sold to the public. Valuing a young, fast-growing company is more art than science. They analyze other publicly traded coffee companies and restaurant chains. They look at your growth rate, your profit margins, your brand strength. They arrive at a number. Let's say they believe your company is worth $1 billion. It is a number so large, it feels completely unreal. It is 1,000 times 1 million. It is a number that has become detached from the reality of selling dollar cups of coffee. It is a number based on a story about the future. Once the S-1 is filed with the SEC, a quiet period begins. You are legally forbidden from talking publicly about your company or the IPO. The SEC now reviews your filing, a process that can take months. They come back with a list of questions and requests for clarification. Your lawyers respond. This back and forth happens several times until the SEC is satisfied that your disclosures are complete and accurate. Finally, you get the news. The CC has declared your registration statement effective. This is the green light. You are cleared for launch. This triggers the most intense phase of the entire process, the roadshow. The roadshow is a 2-week whirlwind tour of the major financial centers of the world. You, your CEO, and your bankers fly on a private jet from New York to Boston, to Chicago, to London, to Hong Kong. In each city, you give the same presentation, sometimes up to 8 times a day. Your audience is not the general public. It is the most powerful investors in the world. Mutual fund managers who control hundreds of billions of dollars. Hedge fund managers, pension fund managers. These are the people who will buy the largest chunks of your IPO. Each meeting is a high-stakes performance. You have 30 minutes to tell your story and convince them to invest millions of dollars in your company. They are shrewd, analytical, and have seen thousands of pitches. They ask incredibly sophisticated questions, but you are ready. You have lived and breathed this company for years. You tell your story with the same passion you had in that first VC meeting. But now it is polished, refined, and backed by a mountain of data. During these 2 weeks, your bankers are building the book. This means they are collecting orders from these large investors, gauging the demand for your stock at a certain price range. The feedback from the roadshow is overwhelmingly positive. The demand for your stock is huge. The book is oversubscribed, meaning investors want to buy many more shares than you are offering. This is a very good sign. It means you can price your IPO at the high end of your range, or perhaps even higher. The night before your IPO, you are back in New York. You and your team gather with the bankers in a conference room, high above Manhattan. This is the pricing meeting. Based on the overwhelming demand, the bankers recommend pricing the stock at $20 per share. You plan to sell 25 million shares to the public. A little simple math. 25 million shares at $20. A share means your company will raise $500 million in the IPO. This cash will go into the company's bank account to fund future growth. The total number of shares in the company after the IPO will be 50 million. At $20 a share, this gives your company a total market capitalization, a total value of $1 billion. You, as the founder, still own 20 million shares. On paper, at the stroke of a pen in this meeting, your net worth will become $400 million. The number is so vast, it has no meaning. You think back to the feeling of that first $3 sale. That felt real. This feels like a dream. The next morning, you go to the New York Stock Exchange. The building itself is a temple of capitalism, with its huge marble columns and soaring ceilings. The trading floor is a controlled chaos of screens, lights, and people. You are a guest of honor. You and your team are led up to the famous balcony that overlooks the trading floor. You are handed a gavel. At precisely 9:30 a.m., you are given the cue. You strike the gavel, and the opening bell rings out, its loud, clear tone signaling the start of the day's trading. Your company's ticker symbol, SPTC, flashes on screens across the floor. Your stock is now officially public. For the first few minutes, there is a flurry of activity as the investment bank's specialist on the floor matches the huge buy orders from the IPO investors with sell orders. Then, the first public trade appears on the screen. SPTC, $26. The stock has popped. The public, who can now buy the stock through their brokerage accounts, are so excited about your company that they have driven the price up by 30% in the first few seconds of trading. Your team, on the balcony, erupts in cheers. You are smiling, you are shaking hands, but you feel strangely detached, an observer at your own coronation. You look down at the swirling vortex of the trading floor, at the flickering numbers on the screens, and you realize you have successfully navigated your small, soulful coffee shop into the very heart of the global financial machine. The journey into the abstract is complete. You have created not just a company, but a publicly traded security. A symbol, an idea that is now owned, debated, and valued by millions of people around the world. And as you watch your stock price tick up and down, second by second, let the sheer, hypnotic strangeness of it all wash over you. A gentle wave of immense, impersonal forces pulling you down into a deep and peaceful rest. Life as the founder of a publicly traded company is a new reality, governed by a new set of rules and rhythms. The $10 million goal that once seemed like a distant star is now a footnote in a story that has become vastly larger. Your wealth is no longer a number in a savings account. It is an ethereal, fluctuating value tied to the ticker symbol, SPTC. Let's explore this strange, disembodied world. Every day, the collective judgment of millions of strangers determines the value of your life's work. One day, the entire market might be up because of a positive economic report from the government, and your stock rises by 3%, increasing your on-paper net worth by millions of dollars. The next day, a fear of inflation might ripple through the global markets, and your stock might fall by 4%, erasing all of yesterday, games, and more. You learn to detach yourself from these daily fluctuations. You learn that the stock price is not a reflection of how good your coffee tasted this morning. It is a reflection of the market's collective guess about your company's profits 3 years from now, filtered through a million macroeconomic fears and hopes. The most tangible new rhythm in your life is the quarterly earnings report. Every 90 days, you are legally required to report your financial results to the public. The weeks leading up to this are a frantic period of closing the books and preparing your report. Then comes the earnings call. This is a public conference call where you and your CFO present the results and then take questions from Wall Street analysts. These analysts are incredibly influential. Their job is to create detailed models of your business and publish, buy, sell, or hold ratings on your stock. The earnings call is a high-stakes performance. You have to project confidence and a clear vision for the future, while being careful not to say anything that could be legally construed as misleading. If your results beat the analyst's expectations, your stock might soar. If you miss their expectations by even a single penny per share, your stock could plummet, regardless of whether you had a record-breaking quarter of growth and profitability. You are living in a world of expectations, a world where perception can be as powerful as reality. As the founder and a major shareholder, you now have a new responsibility to manage your own immense wealth. Let's say you own 20 million shares, and after the IPO pop, the stock is trading at a stable $25 per share. Your on-paper net worth is $500 million. But this is not cash. It is tied up in a single, volatile asset, your own company's stock. Financial advisors would call this being dangerously undiversified. If something were to happen to your company, your entire fortune would be at risk. So, you must begin the process of slowly, carefully, selling some of your shares over time. There are strict rules about how and when corporate insiders like you can sell stock. You work with your financial team to set up a 10b5-1 plan, a pre-scheduled automated plan to sell a certain number of shares every quarter. This demonstrates to the market that you are not just dumping your stock because of some secret bad news, but are prudently diversifying your assets. Over the course of the next year, your automated plan sells 400,000 of your shares at an average price of $25. The proceeds from this sale, deposited into your personal bank account, amount to $10 million. There it is. The number A. The goal that set this entire long journey in motion. $10 million. After the government takes its share in capital gains taxes, you are left with a very real, very liquid fortune. You look at the number on your bank statement. It doesn't feel the way you thought it would. There is no bolt of lightning, no sudden wave of ultimate happiness. There is just a quiet sense of arrival, of a chapter's end. The pursuit of the number was far more thrilling than the number itself. So, what do you do with this money? This question opens the door to the final level of abstraction, the world of asset management and capital preservation. You can't just let it sit in a bank account, where it will be slowly eroded by the invisible tax of inflation. The money must be put to work. You hire a private wealth manager, a firm that specializes in managing large fortunes for individuals and families. They don't give you hot stock tips. They talk to you about your long-term goals, your risk tolerance, your philanthropic desires. They help you create a globally diversified portfolio. A significant portion of your $10 million is invested into a basket of stocks from all over the world and across all industries through low-cost index funds. You are now a part owner of thousands of the world's greatest companies. You own a tiny piece of the technology company that makes your phone, the healthcare company that develops life-saving drugs, the industrial company that builds airplanes. Your wealth is now tied to the overall progress of the human economy. Another portion is invested in bonds. Bonds are essentially loans to governments and stable corporations. You buy a U, treasury bond, and you are lending money to the U. Government. They promise to pay you back with interest. It is considered one of the safest investments in the world. You also buy municipal bonds, which help to fund the construction of schools, bridges, and hospitals in your local community. Through your bond portfolio, your wealth is now providing the capital that builds the very fabric of society. A smaller slice of your fortune is allocated to alternative investments. You invest in a real estate fund that owns apartment buildings and commercial properties. You become a limited partner in a venture capital fund, the very same kind of fund that invested in you. Now you are on the other side of the table. providing the rocket fuel for the next generation of entrepreneurs with big dreams. Your personal wealth is no longer just a number. It is a complex, living ecosystem of assets, a miniature reflection of the entire global economy. The journey that began with the simple, earthy reality of a coffee bean has led you to this place of pure abstraction, where your fortune is intertwined with the invisible, powerful currents of international finance and human endeavor. And as you contemplate this vast, interconnected web, allow your mind to zoom out, to let go of the individual threads, and just float on the slow, majestic, hypnotic tide of the system itself. We have arrived. The $10 million is not just a number, but a working, diversified portfolio. The initial quest is complete. But here, in this quiet, reflective space, a deeper question emerges. We've spent this entire journey exploring the how. How to build a business, how to scale, how to navigate the world of finance. But we haven't truly asked, what? What is this money that we've been pursuing? This powerful, abstract force that shapes so much of our world. It is not the paper or the coins. It is not even the digital digits on a screen. Those are just symbols, tokens. The reality is far more profound and strange. Money, at its very core, is a form of social technology. It is a shared story, a collective act of faith. It is a system designed to solve three fundamental problems. First, it is a medium of exchange. Before money, if you were a baker and you needed shoes, you had to find a shoemaker who happened to be hungry for bread. This double coincidence of wants is incredibly inefficient. Money solves this. The shoemaker can accept your money, confident that they can then use it to buy whatever they want from someone else. It is the universal translator of value. Second, money is a unit of account. It provides a common yardstick to measure the value of everything. A cup of coffee is worth $3. A car is worth $30,000. This allows for complex economic calculation. It allows us to create budgets, to issue loans, to build financial statements. Without this common language of value, our complex global economy would be impossible. It would be like trying to build a skyscraper without a ruler. Third, and perhaps most mysteriously, money is a store of value. It is a way to transport your economic power through time. You can do a day's work today, be paid in money, and save that money to buy something a month from now, or a year from now. It allows you to defer gratification, to save for the future, to invest. It is a bridge across time. But this function is the most fragile. As we've discussed, inflation can erode the value of your stored money. That is why capital must be invested. to grow faster than it decays. This shared story of money has taken many forms throughout history. For millennia, humanity used commodity money, things with intrinsic value, like salt, cattle, or most famously, gold. Gold was useful because it was scarce, durable, and divisible. But carrying gold is inconvenient. This led to representative money. A government or a bank would hold the gold and issue paper certificates that were a claim on that gold. The dollar was on the gold standard for much of its history. But today, we live in the age of fiat money. Fiat is Latin for let it be done. Fiat money, like the dollar or the euro, has no intrinsic value and is not backed by a physical commodity. Its value comes from one thing only: the collective faith and trust we have in the government that issues it and the stability of the economy it represents. The entire global financial system is, in a very real sense, a confidence game. It works because we all believe it works. It is a human-made system, a piece of cultural software running on the hardware of our collective minds. Now that you have successfully navigated this system and accumulated a significant amount of its tokens, has it made you happy? There is a well-documented psychological phenomenon known as the hedonic treadmill. It suggests that humans have a relatively stable baseline of happiness when a major positive event occurs, like achieving a $10 million fortune. Your happiness level spikes dramatically. But then, over time, you adapt. This new level of wealth becomes your new normal. The luxuries it affords become commonplace, and your happiness tends to drift back down towards its original baseline. You find that you still have worries. They are just different worries. Instead of worrying about making payroll for the coffee shop, you now worry about geopolitical risks to your investment portfolio, or the complexities of estate planning. The external circumstances have changed, but the internal landscape remains much the same. You realize, in a moment of profound clarity, that the true, lasting value from your journey was not the destination, but the journey itself. The joy was not in having the money, but in the process of earning it. The deep satisfaction of mastering a craft, of pulling that first perfect espresso shot. The human connection of seeing a customer's face light up. The intellectual thrill of solving the puzzle of growth, of building a system, of creating a team and a culture. The $10 million was simply a byproduct, a scorecard for a game well played. And with this understanding, your relationship with money changes one last time. It ceases to be a goal and becomes simply a tool, an incredibly powerful tool for expressing your values in the world. You started your journey with a simple desire: to create a good experience for one person in one small room. Now, you have the resources to create good experiences for thousands. You decide to dedicate a significant portion of your wealth and your time to philanthropy. But you approach it with the same thoughtful, systematic mind you used to build your business. You study the principles of effective altruism, seeking to use your resources to do the most good possible. You create a foundation. It funds projects that support sustainable agriculture and provide clean water in the coffee-growing communities that were the foundation of your success. You are closing the loop, returning the value back to its source. You invest in arts and education in your own city. Your legacy will not be the number in your bank account. It will be the tangible good you can create with it. Your net worth is no longer the measure of your life. Your self-worth is, and that self-worth is rooted in the same place it always was, in the act of creation, in the pursuit of quality, in the service of community. The scale has changed from one cup to a global foundation. But the core impulse, the soul of the endeavor, is the same. And as you rest with this final, peaceful thought, let all the numbers dissolve. Let the concepts of stocks and bonds, of IPOs and valuations, of fiat currency and hedonic treadmills, all fade away into a quiet, distant hum. Return to that first, simple, powerful image. A small, warm coffee shop on a quiet street corner. The rich, comforting aroma of freshly roasted coffee. The gentle hiss of the steam wand. The feeling of making something good and real with your own two hands. The entire, vast, complex journey was simply a long road back to understanding the profound value of that one simple act. And in that understanding, there is peace. There is stillness. There is rest.